Hello everyone, Killer here, and welcome to another random Minecraft video. Today's video is going to be about the floor grate in the Dalek Mod, and I'm primarily going to be going over a feature that you may not have known about it. So to get started, as you may be aware, the floor grate can be crafted in survival mode by putting 7 steel ingots in a crafting table in a sideways H shape. So this will give you the floor grate block, and when you place it down, not surprisingly, you'll get this little floor grate that emits a white smoke particle. And as I'm sure you're also aware, like every other model in the Dalek Mod, if you shift and right click with this block, you can set down a grate at a diagonal pattern as well. So the floor grate is extremely useful for a setup like this, where you have a central console, and then you have some panels set up all around it, some at a diagonal angle, some just straight on. And it looks like the floor grates that are around the console and that are emitting smoke, and it's a nice little detail that you can use in your TARDIS. However, with a few vanilla commands, we can actually go a little bit farther and do a few more things with the floor grate. So for starters, the floor grate is so much more than just a floor grate. You can actually incorporate it into so many other things. For instance, over here I have these poles, and as an added detail, I've put a floor grate on top of them to emit the white smoke particle, except you cannot see the floor grate. This is because I have run the block data command on it, and I've used the hide model feature that is included in every model in the Dalek Mod to hide the floor grate. So if we walk on top of a floor grate, once you've placed it down, you can run block data, and then since we're standing pretty much within the block, it really doesn't have a hitbox, we can just use straight up tilde for this, and inside some curly brackets we can say hide underscore model :1, and that will make the floor grate disappear. And instead of being a floor grate, it is now just a block that emits a particle. So again, this can be used for incorporating it into any build that you want a particle to be emitted in. And not just in your TARDIS as a floor grate, although in survival mode that may be what you're limited to. But in creative mode, for your creative builds and that, you can do so much more with this. So just using it as hiding it and with smoke is just fine. However, if we walk back over here, you'll notice that some of these floor grates are actually emitting black smoke. So it is possible to change the particles that the panels are emitting. So this is pretty cool. For instance, over here I've put the floor grate around this Enderman, and I have the Ender particles around the Enderman to make him look more like a live Enderman, as instead of just a statue, he's just the entity manipulator block. But I put the floor grates on him with the Ender particles to make him look more like a proper Enderman, and just add some detail to this statue. So how we can change the particles in here is if we run block data back on the floor grate, instead of hide model, this time we're going to use PID, a value called PID. This stands for particle ID. So the default value is -1. That's just going to give it the white smoke, and that's what every floor grate's going to have when you set it down. However, you can enter in a different number in here. Now do not enter a negative number. This, other than -1, this will crash your game if you do that. But we can enter positive numbers. And if you recall from my TARDIS panel video with the /particle command that works in the TARDIS panel, every particle has an ID, and that's the ID that you use in the command. So it's exactly the same here. We use that ID after the particle ID value in the block data tag. So the same IDs that will give you a certain particle in the TARDIS panel will also give you that particle in the floor grate when you use them with this command. So we can just find a random ID, and I suggest just putting in random numbers until you get the particle that you want. So once again, -1 is the default smoke value. I believe 0 is also that white smoke. But we can go up from there. So if I enter in a number 1, we'll get a particle with an ID of 1, and that is this large explosion particle. If we just put in another random number, here's some water that's jumping out. Here's some little potion effect thing that's coming out of there. So you can use any particle in Minecraft and have the floor grate emit that particle for you. So here's the black smoke with an ID of 12. And we can just keep going and just try to find whatever particle might captivate your interest for whatever project you need. So once you run the hide model feature and you run the ID of the particle that you need, you can actually incorporate this panel into your builds and have all kinds of particle effects in your builds that you may find useful. So I've taken this a step further with this jukebox over here. So you'll notice I have some redstone and that hooked up to it. But if I grab a music disc and put that inside here, you'll notice that we actually have some note blocks that are coming out of the, or note symbols that are coming out of the note blocks on the side. So these command blocks are placing down the TARDIS panel with the model hidden and with a particle ID of 23 to give us these note blocks. Now if I remove the music disc, I have a little flip-flop switch set up here with pistons to cause air blocks to set here so that the music notes are no longer being emitted. So once again, we put the music disc in, we get notes, take it out, no more notes. So that was just a little redstone setup that I've used. So it's just using some redstone, a few command blocks to set down either air blocks or the floor grate blocks, and a little flip-flop switch to set down the air blocks once I've taken the disc out. So one last thing that I want to show off in this video is how you can actually use the TARDIS panel in cooperation with the floor grates. So I have an example of it set up over here. I have a panel set up, or a floor grate, set up emitting the white smoke effect, and I have a command in here, a set block command in the TARDIS panel that is going to set down another floor block, and instead of with the default particle, I'm going to set it down with a particle ID of 12. So when I right click, this is going to switch out the particle that the floor grate is emitting by setting down a different floor grate with a different particle ID in it to give off a different particle. So this can be useful for if you're in the TARDIS, you want to change the white smoke to black smoke, or you just want to change a particle from a floor grate from emitting one particle to a different particle. So to show that off again, we can actually get it to it looks like it's swapping out the particle that it is emitting by setting down a new block. And you can put that into the TARDIS panel with the TARDIS panel set block command to actually do that. So that's something else that you may find useful and may be able to incorporate into your own custom TARDIS. So that's everything I had planned for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something new about the TARDIS panel or gave you a few ideas. And I will see you all in the next video. So goodbye for now, everyone.